Communities across Colorado continue waiting for these large-scale ICE operations to happen after campaign promises from President Donald Trump. It's causing some anxiety in communities that have seen major ICE operations before. In 2006, hundreds of people were detained at a meatpacking plant in Greeley. 9 News reporter Evan Krugel is here, and today you were talking with people who were there that day. You have more on how it changed the community there forever. I can't imagine, Evan.
Yeah, big impact, Alex. More than 250 workers were arrested at the Greeley plant that day as part of a nationwide operation at 6 different plants. In total, more than 1,000 workers were detained in one of the largest single-day immigration operations in U.S. history.
News of the federal raid on the Swift plant quickly spread through town. Families of undocumented workers began walking along the highway toward the meatpacking plant just north of Greeley. They could see through the windows of the plant as workers inside were lined up, searched, and marched down to buses.
It's been 18 years since this raid at a Greeley meatpacking plant, but the memories from December 2006 remain fresh in Weld County.
Everybody was traumatized. We remember that day, almost every day.
Bodie Hernandez says her husband was working at the Swift JBS plant that day when federal agents showed up unannounced.
My husband was very scared. He's here legally. And he said they were very rude and abusive to the employees. So they lined them up against the wall and would not let them speak to each other.
Families gathered outside the plant on US 85 as federal agents acted on a tip that undocumented workers had stolen identities in order to get jobs at the plant.
It's talked about in the community all the time.
Louise Wilson was teaching preschool that day.
A lot of the kids were left at the school. It was horrible.
Louise says teachers stayed late at the school as a handful of kids had to be picked up by other family members. At the plant, tensions flared as immigration agents loaded workers onto white buses. Bodie says she waited for hours for her husband to come home.
We didn't find out till, I think, like midnight that he was okay.
The raid still lingers on the minds of families here, as some wonder if history could repeat itself in a community with one of the largest Hispanic populations in the state.
Yes, it does linger, especially right now.
Everybody is just on pins and needles.
Now, most of those people who were arrested did end up getting deported for either identity theft charges or for being in the country without proper documentation. Some big impacts at that plant as well, simply based on the amount of workers it lost that day. This is something certainly still on the minds of folks who live in that community as they anxiously wait to see what's next with President Trump's operations.
To hear those women talk about the kids that were left at school because their parents weren't there to pick them up, I mean, that really puts all of this into perspective. I'm curious, as all of the, confusion and anxiety surrounding this, what does this look like, right? There's been so much talk about the apartments in Aurora and different places, but I mean, could it be places of business, places where people work?
And that's a big question, especially up in Weld County, where more than 40% of that population is Hispanic or Latino. They're questioning whether these operations will happen at those apartment complexes potentially in Aurora, or if places of work could be targeted instead. Certainly something we could find out here in the next few weeks if and when these operations actually take place.
Very important perspective. Thank you for that today, seriously. Evan, thank you.